There we go. I should unmute myself, shouldn't I? That would help. So hi everyone, I'm Will Brown and welcome to the WP Quickies series, bite-sized WordPress tips and tricks in 30 minutes or less. In this lunchtime quickies, I'm going to be talking about WooCommerce Products Loops. So I've had a rough couple of weeks. Hopefully you guys can hear me just now. Rough couple of weeks. I've had a root canal in here, which was not fun. And then I caught COVID. So double whammy. But anyway, shan't stop me. Keep on going. So sorry about my my voice a little bit Barry White at the moment. So before we start, just make sure you click on all the links on the social channels. So give me a thumbs up, click on bell, subscribe, connect with me on LinkedIn as well. I think I'm broadcasting on LinkedIn today. We do have a Facebook group, so you can search for WordPress Sydney Meetup on Facebook. And if you want to ask any questions outside of this WP Quickies, just jot it down there. And I'll respond to you as soon as I can. If you are looking for some WordPress meetups in Australia, then go to wpaustralia.org and there's a Find Meetup. A lot of the meetup groups are kicking back off again. And there's a link there to join us on our Slack group as well. I'll leave that there. If you're a developer or designer, if you're looking to kind of convert more customers into taking out your WordPress site care packages, you can have a look at that. It's an email, some email lists. There's a little guide there as well, something you can look at. And well, the next WordPress Sydney meetup was going to be on May the 30th, but it's not going to be anymore because I'm in isolation for 7 days. So I'll work something out to see if we can bring that on maybe the week following for that. But I was going to do WordPress automation. So stay tuned to the WordPress Sydney meetup group and I'll reschedule that for another date. I'm always looking for topics as well to kind of queue up some topics throughout the year. I'll put a link down there. Let me know your thoughts. Run about 20 minutes that I can talk about anything kind of loosely related to WordPress, and I'm happy to do that. And as always, all the links are on the social pages, the meetup group, in the video notes as well. So don't worry about all that stuff. I put the link to the presentation and anything I talk about as well. And please do let me know who you are in the comments below, and you can ask questions as well, and I'll try and answer them throughout for those. So we've got a few people here. Thanks for telling me I was muted. I did recognize, I saw some of your comments in there. I was like, oh dear, always muted. So we've got Joey J from Singapore. Tell me I'm muted. We've got Alan as well. I'm missing Meow Puss as well. So thanks guys for doing that. Jean as well. Thank you for spending your time there, guys. Who else we got? We've got Hassan Rubel from LinkedIn watching. Hi, Hassan. Thanks for connecting me on LinkedIn today. That's great. I hope you get some value out of these WP Quickies. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so knowing how WooCommerce outputs products to theme pages is going to help you design a better shopping experience for your customers. So let's learn a little bit more about the WooCommerce Products Loop. Now, sitting on top of WordPress, WooCommerce is the fastest growing e-commerce shop on the internet just now. Now, there are thousands of WooCommerce themes helping to create your own online shop. But what if you want to go that kind of one step further and customize the way that products are displayed uniquely for your own customers? Now, this happens a lot of times. Some people will start off with these nice themes. They'll run their shop for a couple of years maybe, but then they want to stand out. You want to do something a little bit different. And this is where understanding how WooCommerce displays products in a theme page is kind of the first step to customizing that experience. Okay, so whenever a list of products is displayed on a WooCommerce store page, the code that produces that products list is called the products loop. Now, the terminology, this kind of loop terminology, it kind of mirrors WordPress's blog post outloop. So when the blog posts are output on your blog homepage or archive page, WordPress calls this the loop. The code that outputs that data is called the WordPress loop. So WooCommerce kind of inherited that for the products, and they're calling it the WooCommerce Products Loop. But the principle is pretty much the same. Now, the coding concept is pretty simple to understand, even for those of you who don't have any development background. Now, there's a loop that checks to see if there are any more products for a specific condition left to display. If there are, then the product details are grabbed from the database, they're rendered onto screen, and the process then restarts or loops round until there's no more products to display. So the concept is pretty simple. Okay, why is the WooCommerce Product Loops important to me? Now, there might be circumstances when you want a list of specific products to be displayed on a page. Now, that can't regularly be done. That can't be done with kind of regular shortcodes, and it might be a limitation on your particular theme as well. So for certain cases, for example, if you have a landing page that you maybe wanted to promote a group of very kind of specific products, you might want to display those products in a particular category or with a particular tag associated with those, or in a particular group, just a group that you've defined yourself. You might want just those products displayed on your landing page for people to buy or jump onto. In this case, you're likely going to need to insert some custom product loops code into your shop page template. Now, every WooCommerce theme and every WooCommerce search and filter plugin, they use custom product loops to display whatever those results are. So it's not a new thing. It's used by all these types of products, all these types of plugins day in and day out. Okay, so where do you find this elusive WooCommerce Products Loop? I'll just make it a little bit bigger for you. Actually, that's just hiding the URL. So the WooCommerce Products Loop, it has evolved a lot over the past maybe 4 or 5 years, and especially since Automatic acquired WooCommerce a few years ago. So gone is the single chunky code loop that spits out a combination of PHP mixed with HTML. And the WooCommerce Products Loop now is kind of refined, and it's a very hookable affair. Now, the best place to find the raw WooCommerce Products Loop is in one of the template files. So if you go into your WooCommerce plugin, you'll see a folder called template. And then within template, or is it templates, then you'll see all these different files in here. And these are the files you can add to your own theme to override how WooCommerce does certain things in the theme. For those. Now, the best one to look at is archive-product .php. So here I am showing you, this is the GitHub repository. You can see the URL down below, and I'll copy it into the comments there, just because I'm nice that way. So this is the GitHub repository where the WooCommerce plugin lives. So you can have a look at that online. You go into the templates folder, and you'll see with the arrow pointed the one called archive-product.php. And that's probably the best one to look at if you're trying to just look at the kind of the raw loop and to understand the basics of what it does. Okay, so here's a warning. There's some code. I'm going to show some code. I try not to show code too often, but it's kind of inevitable when we're talking about the WooCommerce product loop here. Don't be scared. I don't show code all the time in my WP Quickies, but I think it's useful to go through the WooCommerce code loop, just so you got a basic understanding. It's not really techy, and I'll break it down bit by bit in simple terms, so you kind of understand what's going on. Okay, let's hide my horrible face there. Cool. Okay, so this is in this archive-products.php file. So this is what you kind of see. And what I've done here is I've removed some of the original comments. There's lots of comments in there that tells you what it's doing. So I've removed all that. I've condensed it down into the bare core code that's actually operating for those. And what I'm going to do is going to explain what's happening in the code at a very, very high level, just by jumping through a few lines. Okay, so here's the first part. Now, the actual products loop is surrounded by a conditional if statement. Now, if you're new to all these terms, that's all right. It just means if something, then do something else. And this is what's happening here. So lines 1, 13, and 15, check to see if this is actually a WooCommerce product loop. Otherwise, it reports back to the browser that there's no products found. Okay, so hopefully that should be fairly easy for you to understand for that. Now, going a little bit deeper in that, so once we're in the WooCommerce product loop, lines 2 and lines 12, they allow you to run your own functions to output stuff directly before and directly after the products loop, using WordPress hook names called WooCommerce before shop loop and WooCommerce after shop loop. Now, don't worry. if you don't know how to use WordPress hooks and filters, just know that it's possible to output stuff before and after the WooCommerce product loop. Some people might want to do that. You might want to put a banner, for example, or maybe a sales message or something else on there. Okay, so inside that, we have lines 3 and lines 11. They start and end the WooCommerce product loops respectively. So what we're doing here, the WooCommerce product loop start is a function. What that does is it sets up pointers and counters and prepares the WordPress database to get queried. The other one, the WooCommerce product loop end, that basically closes the database connection, it resets pointers and tidies everything up for another WordPress query. So you can go and have a look for those functions in your own time and see what they do, but just know that they get things ready for the product query. Okay, the next one. So lines 4 and 10, they contain another conditional, another if statement to check how many total products there are in the database to loop through. And it only runs the code, it only starts the loop if in the statement the number of total products is above 0. So what we're doing here is we're looking in the database to see are there any products there that we need to loop through. So if it's 0, then it just doesn't do anything at all. But if there are products there, then it goes to the next bit, which is this one. So lines 5 all the way to 9 run the actual WooCommerce product loop, where the product information is retrieved from the database and it's output to the browser. Now, line number 8, it does call another template, and you can find that in the template folder for those. So this says WC get template part, and it's got content and product. So that basically links to the file /templates and then /content-product.php. And that's the file that actually outputs the product. So if you have a look in that, then you'll see that it's got product title, date, thumbnail, all that sort of stuff. So that's a part of the template that renders just that single product. And then it loops around again for those. I'll just give you, let's see if I can copy this. So that's a link to that content-product.php file. And again, that one just shoves all the product stuff out to the browser, and then it goes through the loop again. Okay, so that was the product loop. It was hopefully that was fairly simple for you to figure out. I'm going to run through it again just really quickly. Okay, so the first thing here is a conditional. If we are in the WooCommerce loop, then start the loop. If not, say there's no products. The next thing to do is see if there's any functions that you might want to output your own stuff before the loop and after the loop. And then this is the start of the product loop and the end of the product loop. So this is where WooCommerce starts to open the database for connections, and then at the end it cleans everything up, just gets it ready for the next query. Then we have another conditional, just checks the number of total products that we're pulling out of the database. If it's 0, it doesn't do anything. If it's more than 0, then yep, it's good to go for this. And this is the main loop. So while we've got posts, it grabs a handle to the post, which is the product, and then it sends that information to another template part, which actually outputs the product title, the image, the thumbnail, all that sort of stuff out to the browser, and then it does that whole sort of thing again. Okay, so the WooCommerce documentation, WooCommerce has pretty great documentation. And if you have a look at the sample loops, or if you search for loop within the documentation, then you're going to arrive at this documentation address here. And it gives you a sample product loop. I'll just make that a little bit bigger for there. Now, this is a little bit different than what it is in the templates that we've looked for. This is kind of more of a classic loop for those. So this is the big chunky code block that I was talking about before that you probably have to put in. But now that the WooCommerce, the actual loop itself is a little bit more refined. But if you want to do a complete custom loop, this one here is what you'd want to copy and paste in. So this is a single code block for that. What this is doing is it's very similar to one that we've looked at. But rather than have WooCommerce functions to set everything up, this is a one code snippet that does everything within this one code block. So we're not going out to external functions. We're not bringing in, well, actually, we are bringing in a little bit of template, but we're not using those external functions. What we're doing is we're using something called a WP query, the WordPress query. So we can see here on line number 7, it sets up this loop as a new WordPress query, and it's passing some arguments for that loop on lines 3 to 6. So it's setting up the post type is product, and it's setting post per page is 12. So that's the number of pagination. You're going to get 12 results back per page for those. And then number 7, it says go and do a new query. And then we've got the loop that goes through from lines 8 all the way to 14 for those. And this is the more traditional type of products that you probably want to copy into a template if you're looking to customize stuff for here for those. Now you can set up your own query. You can set up your own conditions as well. So if you see that args on lines 3 to 6, basically there's lots of different arguments that you can put in that particular array. And I'll link to the WP query. So obviously you're going to be looking for products, so post type product, but you might want to set the category, the post category to something, or the post tag to something, or you might want to select a number of IDs as well. So post type product, and then the number of IDs might be in an array. So I might want ID number 200, 305, and 470 to display. So three posts, three products you want to display, and then you spin through those loops, and then you spit those out. So this is where you can really get into a really kind of customized WooCommerce Products Loop. It is code. You are going to require some code, but if you really want that specific custom products loop, unfortunately, at this moment in time, you're going to have to go down and get into this code loop. Otherwise, you're going to be browsing around for different plugins, and trying to find something that best matches what you're trying to do. And that doesn't happen all the time. So, if you really want exactly what you want on the page, then, this is probably the best solution that you're going to have. You can hire a developer. You can have a look on the waustralia.org. Go look on Slack. You can get some ask people on the Slack channel for some hints and tips on how to do this, or maybe some devs on there as well, just to get you started as well. But definitely, this is probably the best way to create a custom products loop for WooCommerce. Okay. Now, there's a lot more detail to the WooCommerce product loop than I've talked to here. I removed a lot of stuff from the beginning. I talked about hooks and filters. I didn't really get into that. So there are ways to change the way that WooCommerce outputs products by hooking your own queries into there and using filters to kind of change stuff. I might touch on that in maybe another topic later on. It's a little bit more advanced for those. But for this one, I just wanted to show you the basic WooCommerce products loop, the one that's in the code, the one that you know that whenever products are displayed on your WooCommerce shop, that's the code, that's what's running through, that's the information it's getting from the database, and that's how it's displaying it in your template for those. Okay, if you guys got any questions, you can pop them in there. I know it's been a bit of a code blast at the moment. All my WP quickies aren't normally this techie, but talking about the WooCommerce product loop, I kind of got to get into the code. I've got to do the code. I got someone here says, Karen, says, they'll catch up later. Oh, he's back home in Scotland. Just says hi. Hey, hi guys. Yes, I am from Edinburgh. So hopefully you guys having a great time in Scotland there. Jot down some questions if you like. In the meantime, if you don't have any questions, I'm happy to connect with you. I'm mostly on LinkedIn these days on Will Brown AU. On Instagram, willbright_AU, and on Twitter, and willbright_AU as well. Happy to connect with you, guys. Again, if you've got any questions, drop them down in one of these social media channels. Drop them down into the Facebook group as well. Happy to answer any kind of more specific, detailed questions about the WooCommerce product loops, if that's what you have. Otherwise, if there's no questions coming through, next week, I'm going to be talking about local blueprints site templates. So Loco is a product from Flywheel, from the hosting company Flywheel. And you install it on a local computer, and it basically allows you to have a local WordPress development environment in there. So what I'm going to be talking about is a function that they have within this local software called blueprints. And blueprints allow you to set up WordPress instances and then save them as templates so you can then just kind of quickly run up an instance, copy it over as something else. So I'm going to be going through that process next week in the local app, and then talking about blueprints and how to save them as site templates and how to use them back again to kind of spin up a quick development engine. So thanks, guys. Thanks so much for watching WPQuickies today. I will catch you next week. Hopefully no more root canals. Hopefully no more COVID. And I'll be here next week talking about local blueprints and site templates. Okay, guys. See you next week. Bye.